everyone, and welcome to day one of Vlogmas. Okay, not really. I'm not actually doing the full Vlogmas thing where I post a video every day until Christmas Eve, as you can probably tell by the fact that this video is coming out on December 2nd. But I am planning to post some extra videos this month, my hope being to get 3 videos out a week, so you will be getting some extra content from me, but I personally do not have the time to put out a video every single day. I will run myself ragged before Christmas gets here, and I don't want to do that to myself. So I do want to get some extra videos out. You're just not going to get quite as much from me as from other booktubers, unfortunately. So for this first video, I wanted to talk about some of my favorite Christmas books. I figure I might as well cover this early, so if any of these books are of interest to you, you have some time to pick them up before Christmas gets here. And I don't have enough recommendations to do this by genre, but I do have enough to do them by age category. So I'm going to start with picture books and work my way up to adult books. Also, before I actually go into the books, I wanted to show you guys this mug that my brother and sister-in-law picked up for me. Okay, there's a bit of a glare. I don't know how well you can read it, but it says, "My holidays are booked." And I really like this mug. So, alright, so getting into the actual books. For picture books, I have, I think, 5 here. And the first one is God Gave Us Christmas by Lisa Ton Bergeron. And I know she's written some YA and adult books as well, but she does an entire series of these books of God Gave Us Something. But these books just take some different animals, and it's basically parents talking to their cubs and going over what is Christmas about, what can we look forward to, why did God give us Christmas, all of those kinds of things. So it's a really cute book. The illustrations are really cute too. So I do own several books in this series, and I really enjoy all of them. Then the next one is also in a similar vein in focusing on the religious aspect of Christmas, and that is the Advent Storybook. This one is by Anthony Schneider and illustrated by Maya Dusakova. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. But this one, it's literally meant to be an Advent book. It has different stories in it that you read each day. And you follow a bear through pretty much all of these stories. And it goes into different things about Christmas, about the meaning of Christmas. So if you're looking for an Advent book for kids, I think this is a really good one to go with. The stories are nice and short. It's something that kids can enjoy one a day and not feel like the book takes forever. If you have a child who has an attention span issue, which I do. So this is one that I really like, and I haven't done much yet with the kids, but I am planning to read more of it to them this year. Then the next book is called The Christmas Tree Ship, and this one is by Carol Crane and illustrated by Chris Ellison. And this one is based on a true story, and it's about a ship that used to deliver all of these Christmas trees, but one year the ship sinks in Lake Michigan. And so the next year, the kids are kind of disappointed because they realize the ship went down last year. We're not going to get trees this year. But then another captain shows up, and he has all these trees on his ship, and he's delivering them because he and his wife decided they wanted to keep the tradition going. And it says in the back of this that it's based on a story that her Swedish grandfather told of bravery and the dedication of a Lake Michigan ship's captain and his family. So it is based on a true story, based on either her grandfather or someone he knew. I don't remember which. I haven't read this since last year, so I don't remember for sure. But this is another one that just has beautiful illustrations in it. And it's a really heartwarming story. So it's one I would definitely recommend for the Christmas season. Then we have another book that's also based on a true story, and that is The Christmas Owl, which the cover itself is stunning. Forget the illustrations inside. The cover itself is gorgeous. So this one is about an owl from northern New York, upstate New York. It's a baby owl. It flies into a pine tree, and that tree ends up getting chosen to be the tree for the Rockefeller Center in New York City. So the tree gets chopped down, bound up, and taken into New York City. And when they get it there, they discover this baby owl inside. And so the owl is taken to a shelter for animals to be taken care of, and make sure it's okay. And then it's released again. But it's just a really cute story. And again, the illustrations are really well done. So this is another just really cute story to read with your kids around Christmas time. All right, then the last one is just a really cute winter story. It does say Christmas in the title, so it takes place around Christmas time. But this is just a cute story for kids, and it's One Christmas Mystery. This one is by Christina Butler and illustrated by Tina McNaughton. And this is a story of Hedgehog and Mole who go out with their friends to collect berries and stuff out in the snowy woods, and Mole's scarf ends up going missing. And so the friends work together to try to find Mole's scarf. And it's just a really cute story about friendship, and I really enjoy this one. It's just a nice, sweet story around the holidays. Nothing super spectacular, but again, the illustrations are really pretty. And again, it's just a sweet friendship story. So that is the last of the picture books. So now I'm going to move on to middle grade books. And the first one that I have is Winter House by Ben Gooderson. This is the first book in the Winter House series. The first and the second books take place over the Christmas holidays. The third one actually takes place over Easter. Either this one or the second book are good ones to pick up around Christmas time. And they also really outdid themselves with these because we have this really nice cover. But then you peel it back and you have an interesting cover inside still. I'll also show you the end pages, which are a map around Winter House. So this is, I would almost call it a fantasy mystery, because I don't really know that it's supposed to be set in our world. I don't even know where Winter House is supposed to be. But this young girl, she's an orphan. She lives with her aunt and uncle. It feels very a la Harry Potter. But her aunt and uncle don't like her, and they're going on vacation. She's going to be, I don't remember if she's going to be stuck at home by herself, or they had plans to send her somewhere else. But then they receive basically an invitation for her in the mail to go to Winter House, all expenses paid. And so they go, yeah, sure, go there. Well, we're on our cruise. So she goes there and discovers that the man who owns Winter House is her grandfather. And then there ends up being a mystery that she and a friend she makes there end up uncovering. There's a lot of word puzzles and codes and things like that, which I really enjoy, and middle grade does them very well. So this was a really fun book. It can have a bit of a dark tone at times though, so just beware of that. But overall, the story is really fun. I love the puzzles. I love the friendship in this book. So this is one middle grade I would recommend checking out around Christmas if you haven't already. All right, the next one that, actually I just realized all three of these books are mysteries. So I guess if you want a Christmas mystery, I have middle grade choices for you. The next one is Green Glass House by Kate Milford. And this one is a fantasy. It is set in a fictional world, and the main character's parents own an inn. It used to be just a large house, and at some point it got turned into an inn or hotel, whichever you want to call it. And this year, the boy is home over the holidays, supposed to be having a break before everybody starts showing up for the Christmas season. But then some people start showing up, and they're very mysterious, they're very odd, and then some strange things start happening. And so he and a young girl start working together to try to solve the mystery of what is going on in this house. And it's a really cute story. It definitely had an interesting ending. It was not the ending I was expecting. I felt like I should have at some point, but I wasn't. But It is a really cute middle grade story, and again, this is one where I love the family, I love the friendships, and I love the mysteries. So, because yes, there actually is more than one. And the last one, again, is also a mystery, and that is Peril at Owl Park by Martha Jocelyn. And this is actually the second book in the Aggie Morton series. But other than seeing how Aggie and Hector begin their friendship, I don't really feel like you need to read the first one in order to read this one. But it does sequentially take place after the first book in the series. And it takes place over the Christmas holidays when Aggie and her friend Hector and her Granny Jane are staying at her sister and brother-in-law's house for the Christmas holidays. And then someone turns up dead. And so they're trying to help solve the mystery of who killed this person while being stuck in the house because, one, it's winter, it's snowy, it's hard to get around anywhere, and two, the inspector won't let anyone leave the house. So this very much has the feel of a locked room mystery because nobody's really allowed to leave the house, and they're definitely not allowed to leave the premises. So again, another really good one, especially if you want a story about really good friends and what good friendship looks like, and also kids who are far too intrigued by things that they should maybe not be quite so intrigued about. But, morbid curiosity and all that. Alright, so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and move on to YA, and I only have 2 books for this one. But the first one is The Enchanted Sonata by Heather Dixon, or Heather Dixon Walwork. I don't know which way it's written on the book cover, but this one is kind of a Nutcracker / Pied Piper retelling. It really involves both. I read this one last year. It wasn't one that I personally ended up loving, but I think a lot of it is because some of it felt fairly predictable to me. But if you're just going in for a nice, relaxing story that's a bit fantastical, this is a really good one to pick up. It's just a nice, cozy read. And then the other one is The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. And in this book, we have a group of people who basically give the Scrooge treatment to other people. These are people who they're technically dead, but they kind of exist in that in between. And so every year at Christmas, well, really at the beginning of the year, they pick somebody who is going to essentially be their Scrooge for that year. Someone whose heart really needs to change. And they spend that entire year getting to know that person so that when Christmas rolls around, they can bring the ghosts of past, present, and future to that person and show them the things that they really need to see in order to hopefully change their heart. Well, Holly Chase was one of those people. She was visited by 3 ghosts on Christmas. However, she ignored their advice, and I think it was a little over a year later, she ended up dying. And then she ended up in this in-between and was brought in to be the ghost of Christmas past. And so when the book starts, we see as the group is finishing up with their Scrooge for the year. And then they immediately begin working on the person for the next year, and we follow her over the course of that year. And I really enjoyed this story. This was one that as I was reading it, I was like, it's really good. I'm really pulled into the story, really enjoying it. Ooh, but I can see a way that this story could end that I will not like. And I will say this much, it did not end that way. So, I won't say any more than that. You may read the book and be happy with the way it ended, the way I was. You may be disappointed in the ending. I don't know. But I really liked how the book ended. So if you like Christmas Carol stories, I would recommend checking this one out. Alright, so moving on to my adult fiction recommendations. The first one is Catching Christmas by Terry Blackstock. And this is a contemporary Christmas romance. We follow... I don't remember the characters' names anymore. But we follow a man who is a cab driver or an Uber driver. I don't remember which it is now. And he ends up picking up this older woman. And I think she normally has a different person who picks her up. I can't remember. But she basically ends up deciding, you are my designated taxi driver. Anytime I need to go somewhere, you are going to be the one who takes me. And he's not sure how he feels about all of this, but he does it to appease her. And then we're also following her granddaughter, who I believe is a lawyer, or at least works in a lawyer's office, if I remember correctly. And if I remember correctly, she's kind of jaded about love. I think the last relationship she had did not end well. She's not really interested. But, of course, Grandma's going to try to play matchmaker. This is a really cute story. I love the grandma in this story. I love seeing how the characters grow and change throughout it. So this is one I would definitely recommend. All right. The next one is a little bit different, and that is Comfort and Joy by Kristen Hanna. This is a contemporary romance, but it does have a twist to it. I'm not going to say what the twist is. I'm not going to say when you learn about the twist. But there is a little different take on this story. So in this one, we're following a woman named Joy, who is newly divorced, and she's setting out to go have an adventure now that her divorce is over, and she doesn't have any plans for the holidays. So she's just going out to have an adventure, and she ends up getting in an accident. She's injured, but she ends up walking away because she realizes, like, nobody knows if she's there or not. Because I'm trying to remember. It doesn't say on here exactly how the accident happens. But she kind of realizes, like, nobody knows for sure who's supposed to be there, who was supposed to be in the vehicle. And I feel like there's a lot that was going on. So, like, multiple injuries, multiple people involved. And so she decides, like, I could just slip away and no one will know the difference. And so that's what she does. She walks away and she ends up in this small town and ends up meeting this boy and his father and spends some time around their place, getting to know them and just getting away, not having to really talk about who she is, just being able to relax and kind of be herself without delving into her past. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. And honestly, it was the thing about the book that made it different, that made me enjoy it. But I do also know there are some people who did not enjoy this book for the exact same reason. So, will you enjoy it or not? I don't know. I can't tell you without telling you what makes the story different, and then that kind of ruins the reading experience. So, I'm not going to. You'll have to decide if you want to pick this up or not, but I personally would recommend it. All right, and the last adult book that I'm going to recommend is Crema's Christmas Cookies and Crooks by Harper Lynn. I say that and now I'm afraid that that's the wrong name. Okay, I did have the right name. This is actually book 7, I think, in the Kate Bay Cafe Mystery series. I've only read 2 of the books in the series, so I can't speak for the series as a whole, but as a cozy Christmas mystery, I really enjoyed this one. Oh, do I even remember the mystery in this? No. Oh, yes. Okay, so in this one, we have a drama teacher at the school who ends up getting killed, and another teacher is arrested for the murder. The police say they have solid evidence that she's the one that did it, but everybody else thinks there's no way it could have been her. So the main character starts doing her own investigating, which always apparently gets her in trouble with the police, and tries to figure out who actually committed the murder. The premise of the story in general is that the main character was living in the big city, ended up moving back to the small town that I believe she grew up in, and takes over the cafe that either her mother or grandmother ran now that they have passed away. So she has a coffee shop, which is where all of the food stuff in the title comes from. And there's always a mystery that comes up, and she gets herself involved, and there's one particular police officer who is never happy about her getting involved in these cases. So there's always the danger of, if she figures out who it is she going to be in danger because now they realize somebody knows who's behind the crime? And then also trying to stay on the good side of the police, even though, in their eyes, or at least in one particular officer's eyes, she's trying to do their job for them. So, overall, I really enjoyed this one, and I don't know for sure if this is a series I'm going to continue, but I can at least say I would recommend this one. All right, then I just have a few books left because I do have some nonfiction that I want to recommend. And the first one is Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. And these are literally letters that he wrote to his children as they were growing up. Because, kids every year, they write letters to Santa, and I guess his kids were writing letters and asking questions, and so he decided to have Santa write letters back to his kids, talking about different things that happened in the North Pole, what he's been up to throughout the year, problems they've been having, all this kind of stuff. And he drew pictures to go with it, and it's just so fun and imaginative. And I really enjoyed this. The books that I have seen, I read an ebook because I don't own it, but the books that I've seen typically have his actual letter on one page, and then they have a typed out version of the letter on the other page, so it's a little bit easier to read. But with his actual letters, you get to see the pictures that he included and all of that. So it's just a really cute book, and I would very much recommend checking it out if you haven't yet. Then the next one I just read last year, and that is The 13th Gift. And I'm probably not going to pronounce this correctly, but it's by Joanne Huist Smith. Huist Smith? Huist Smith? I don't know. I don't know how to say that middle name. I am sorry. But this one is a memoir. It's about Joanne and her family after Joanne's husband has passed away. I just realized the train is going by. I should probably wait. And this one is a memoir about a time in her family's life after her husband had passed away. If I remember correctly, I think he passed away the Christmas before. And so we're following the family a year later. And Joanne was having a really hard time dealing with the loss of her husband. And so she really wasn't in the mood to celebrate Christmas. Some of her kids were interested, but she was not. And it was just kind of making things hard with the whole family. And of course, the whole family is dealing with the loss, and some of them not sure how to deal with that loss. But then one day, presents start showing up on their doorstep. And the first day, it's a single item. And it's just signed from your true friends. The next day, it's 2 items. The next day, it's 3 items, and so on. So we get the 12 days of Christmas. Except the things that they're providing are things like wrapping paper and bows and ribbons and boxes and all this kind of stuff. So obviously, throughout the course of this book, the family's trying to figure out who is sending us these things. And then also slowly seeing the change in the family as these gifts and other people and things that they come in contact with have an effect on the family. So this is a really heartwarming story, and highly, highly recommend it if you are looking for a good Christmas nonfiction. And then the last book that I have is actually for the Advent season, which now that I'm thinking about it, by the time this video comes up, Advent has already started because it starts on December 1st this year. But if you still want to try to pick it up and get caught up, or if you want to look at getting it for next year, the last book I'm going to recommend is Hallelujah by Cindy Rollins. And this is using not the Hallelujah course. This is using the Messiah, I will get this right, by Handel as a way of celebrating Advent. And in this book, Cindy explains that this is something she does with her family every year. They listen to Handel's Messiah, different parts of it on different days, and the things that they'll discuss, and scripture that you can read with it, and different things like that. I really enjoyed reading through this. I've only done this myself. I haven't done this with my family yet. I do own a record of Handel's Messiah, so we can do that, but I haven't actually done that yet with my family. But I did do this a couple years ago and really enjoyed getting to actually listen to all of Handel's Messiah and go through the things that she talked about in this book. So the book just divides it up into weeks, and so you can base it on whenever Advent starts. It doesn't specifically say like December 1st, do this, because Advent doesn't always start on December 1st. A lot of times it actually starts in November. So it just says like week 1, day 1, week 1, day 2, and so on. And it will tell you how long the musical excerpt is for that particular day. So you have an idea of how to plan around it, because Some passages are longer than others. So if you're someone who really enjoys classical music like I do, and you also want to celebrate Advent, this is one that I would recommend checking out. Alright, so those are all of the books that I have to recommend you for today. There are other good Christmas books that I've read, but these are the ones that are the ones I've enjoyed the most and would most want to recommend. And if there are any Christmas books that you would recommend, please go ahead and put them down in the comments below so we can keep the recommendations going. And I hope you all are having a wonderful Christmas season, and I'll see you later.